putting in progress. Now we have it. So you guys can try to have that afterwards. If you think that anything is beneficial and you want to see it again, then you can go and watch it again.
Are they gonna post the Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Yes.
No.
Yes, they are kind of, I think, a little bit late with these, but there's a very nice, very kind woman called Carol, and she's the one doing it. She has been a little bit busy, but she's gonna post it. So then on the Thubten Ling YouTube page, YouTube channel, you can find it. So we hope so. It's okay. So we're gonna do these preliminary practices. It's very, very special that we're having this opportunity because we need to understand what they are and what they are for, right? What is the meaning of it? Why are they important? What is considered preliminary practice? And we're gonna do it in the context of the Gelupa tradition. Okay, so the Gelupa tradition is best for us to understand a little bit more about it before we talk about it. But it's important that we understand that that the reason why we are doing this, why we are doing these kind of like practices, why we want to do these practices, well, it's because the purpose of the Buddhist path, we would say, it's actually, we can divide it in, there's three main goals in the Buddhist path. When we start a spiritual path in the Buddhist tradition, one of the things that we want first to do is to really alleviate the suffering of this life, right? We want to stop suffering because we came here in a way because we are realized that we are suffering, right? That there is something that is not making us completely cool, relaxed, right? There's something that is making us that maybe there's something missing still. And that's why we are here, right? And then we also want to be happy. And, maybe we can find some type of happiness sometimes, in a big, delicious burrito or a big, delicious, pizza or a big, delicious, day at the beach. But then it goes away. Then it doesn't stay. And then we keep on trying and keep on looking for it and keep on chasing it again and again. So then we say that if we look into our lives, we have incredible opportunities to then start looking for ways to find that happiness and ways to find the elimination of our suffering, right? If we look, we have incredible opportunities, and the more we start to see, the more we see that we actually have incredible opportunities because we have, oh, I can stop sharing this for the people first. So then, we can start realizing that the reason why we are doing it, the reason why we are actually being able to do this is because of these incredible tools that we have as humans, First, we have incredible external opportunities, like, for example, we have a house, we have food, we have, material goods, we have places, we have freedom, we can discuss that topic quite a lot. But we have the possibilities of actually transforming our minds. And then more than that, we have the inner kind of like tools or the inner qualities, which is we want to change. We want to transform our minds. And that is already quite special. And not only that, but we also found tools like Buddhism, like Dharma, like, people that have created all of the, or followed all of these paths. And they themselves, were able to achieve these realizations and achieve the qualities that we want to achieve. So they serve as a living proof to us that is possible. So then we are like, wow, we have everything, right? So that is why we say that the first kind of like type of idea of Buddhism is that the purpose is just to be able to develop this. But then we can say that our goal can be also, if we think in the continuity of our lives, we might not be able to realize or to kind of like transform our minds entirely in this life, right? Maybe our lives are a little bit being a little bit this life we've done so many things, so maybe we might not have enough time or energy to transform our minds. So then we talk about the continuity of the mind, right? The mind that will continue life after life. So then we make sure that we want to create the necessary conditions to continue this spiritual path in our next life. So if we are reborn maybe as a dog or as a cat, we might not have the necessary conditions, because we might not be able to actually talk and and debate and really think rationally about some of these things, right? Well, we can still be very kind and loving as puppies, as dogs. As we know, that dogs and cats, they can be very kind of like loving and kind, but they don't have that discernment, that logic, that reasoning that we as human beings have. So that's why we say that the lowest goal on a spiritual path in Buddhism, it's actually wanting to have a good rebirth, right? That is, yes.
How can I create the conditions
Yes.
for my cat to come back human?
Yes. How can I create the conditions for my cat?
Today when
Exactly. You bring it today, the cat, and we're gonna make it. Well, very, very easy, because if you think about it, the mind, everything that we do with our minds create a seed. Everything that the mind moves to creates a seed. So if there is a thought, an idea, a feeling, a sensation, all of the movements of the mind create seeds. Okay? All of the speech, each word, even sound we make, So if we make a sound like imitating a dog, we are creating, a seed to actually become a dog. Lama Zopa used to say that. We used to laugh a lot about that. And then, if we are creating the actions with our body, we are also creating seeds. So animals don't have that discernment of the mind so much. Therefore, what we can help them is to help them create seeds with their body and with their speech in some ways. Not the speech that they say of speaking, but especially with the listening, right? So that's why the main ways to actually help animals to have a good rebirth is through mantra, listening mantra, then to listen to mantras, because mantras create that necessary imprint for them to develop the wish in future lives to understand what is the mantra, right? And the power of the mantra is a word of the Buddha, that's called protection of the mind. That's what mantra means. So it is to protect the mind. So there is a specific intention. For example, the mantra of compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum, right? It means that the mind and the body and the mind, speech, body, speech, and mind that we have now, they are contaminated. By uniting money, okay, which is wisdom, and Padme, which is compassion, we have Hum, which is the completely pure body, speech, and mind. So it's actually that through the union of compassion and wisdom, we can purify and become a Buddha. So this is the meaning of the mantra. So when the mantra is being chanted and someone is listening to it, even though they don't understand the meaning, that there is an intention from the person who created a mantra, right? So which is a Buddha, the Buddha of compassion, that wanted this to be the aim or the goal for that mantra to exist, which is very different than, for example, why we make I don't know, a song or a book nowadays. We just want to maybe sell something, or or we want to make there's a meaning of like, oh, me, myself, and expressing my emotions, right? It's not so much that feeling of wanting the other persons and the people who are going to listen to it to actually get enlightened or something like that, right? That is the difference. So that's how we can help by mantras. And then through the body, we can have holy objects, objects that are already consecrated, which also means that the way that they exist is with the intention to help others. That is the idea, right? Why do we have you know, this, what we call prayer wheel. Inside, there's a lot of prayers, a lot of, incredible amount of prayers and mantras. So the moment we do that, the moment we are kind of like, spinning it, we are actually with the wish to make these run, like go, go out and spread towards all, right? That's the idea. So it's the same with those mantras and things that we kind of like put inside of the bodies of the statues of the Buddhas. So they have that wish, you know. There's some mantras that the Buddha said, everybody who just sing this mantra, may they clear their mind. Whatever touches, that kind of like mantra, may their body be purified. So these are the things that we touch the animals' bodies so they can have these imprints. Okay?
I don't know where she got it from, but Venerable Rabina said also that when your animal's dying, in addition to those steps, that if because you have a relationship with the animal, that it's beneficial for you to be there because the animal's grasping for you because it loves you. And she said it's grasping at a human, so that would help to throw into a human.
To a human rebirth. Yet it can be because they want to kind of like, oh yes, I want to become a human, be close to my animal, to my owner, my human. So I want to become a human being. That is true. That definitely there is some sort of kind of like a logic there. So that's what we want. We want to have a good rebirth because we want to continue on our spiritual path. And being a human being is the best rebirth we can have. Why? Because we have a mix of suffering and pleasures that will give us the balance to continue our spiritual path. Right? So that means that if we just have a life that there's no suffering, we're not gonna want to actually make anything to, we don't need to we don't need to change, right? If we don't see that there is suffering, which if you think about it is maybe 90% of the population. People don't think that they are suffering, right? I remember I had a friend that she went to a Buddhist retreat, a Vipassana retreat, and they were like talking about suffering, about the First Noble Truth, that things are suffering. And she left saying, I don't have any sufferings. I have my husband, I have my job, I have everything, I'm not suffering. And then she comes back home. We was sharing like a place in London, many years ago. And then she started to cry because she had a problem with her boss. And then I said, don't you call this suffering? Right? Because she was suffering her mind. So then she started to understand what actually suffering means. That's why it's hard for us to use the word suffering, because suffering sometimes can be, I don't know, poverty, or, like a famine, or like sickness or something. And we don't have that now. So we don't not suffering. But dukkha, which is the translation for actually the word that the Buddha used, dukkha, it's not necessarily just suffering, but it's more that dissatisfaction, that feeling of always something missing, right? There's no peace of mind in our lives. When we have it, it's kind of like, I was my because my brother just had a baby, no, so his wife is she's so funny because she kind of like she's now sending things to this WhatsApp group we have with the family, and she was like thinking, she was saying that she has been waking up sometimes in the middle of the night like looking for the baby, because she's just like not sleeping well and things like that. And then when she kind of like finds the baby, and then she just starts, but maybe something's gonna happen bad, but something's gonna, because that's how our minds are. Even when we have everything, oh, I'm going to go to Hawaii with this person and everything's going to be amazing. And I'm there and everything's amazing. But then there's this in the back of the mind, but maybe they don't like me. Maybe, like the food, well, maybe this is going to happen. Maybe there is going to have, there's always something disturbing us. Do you recognize that? Do you recognize that feeling that there's something there? Yes, Bob.
isn't there a distinction of some significant relevance between the suffering that you're describing and the suffering of wrong view?
The suffering of wrong view is the cause. It's not the suffering in itself. So that is the difference. The difference is that the suffering that we have is the experience of dissatisfaction, is the experience of disturbance, right? Of never being at peace, never being at ease, we say, no? Right? We do, but then sometimes it's like 5 seconds, and then suddenly something comes up, and then we start to suffer again. So that is the main kind of like idea of the suffering. And the causes of it, it's actually, let's say, 3. The most kind of like gross suffering or cause for the suffering is what we call the negative emotions, right? Being angry, being attached, being, jealous, being depressed, having low self-esteem. So these are the kind of like manifested negative disturbances that we have. And that's why I call that these are called the roller coaster of negative emotions, right? We go from one negative emotion to the other. And then, when we have something that we like, then we are a little bit more attached. So it's like, oh, yes, it's amazing. Life is amazing. I have everything. And then, something happens and we go up and down, up and down. So that is easy for us to see, right? They disturb our peace of mind. They kind of like attack our body. They disturb our, like, our emotions. And the worst, they completely dominate us, and then they make the second cause for suffering to arise, which is they make us habituate our body and our speech, especially, and of course our minds, to continue doing them, to continue engaging with them, right? That is kind of like what we call karma. Karma is intention. So if I am disturbed, controlled by the negative emotions, therefore, my intention will be to either, get angry, or either get attached, or either get like, I'm jealous of this person, so I want this person for me, right? I'm going to use my body, my speech, and my mind to get what I want, or to get very far from something that I don't want, right? For example, I have aversion to someone. I'm going to do everything possible to have this person very far from me, avoiding them, or telling to other people, hi, this person is very bad, blah, 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 right? So people also don't kind of like get closer to that person. So, and yes, sweetheart.
Did you say that negative emotions, negative emotions are the result of karma?
They are the result and the cause. Do you understand? Because they are the result, because they are like, they keep us, like the way we act, make us act more with them. And because we are under the control of them, we create the habit to continue doing them. Okay? So that's what karma in a way means. We are like how can I say, dependent or limited by those habitual tendencies, right? Because it's just cause and effect. If I get angry, I'm gonna have a negative experience, right? So it's just that. The same is for positive intentions. So karma is the mechanics, cause and effect, okay? So that means that if I change those negative intentions and the negative emotions, and I put positive emotions, I will have positive results, right? That makes sense? But then all of these, the negative emotions, they only come, I only get angry if I believe that there is a very specific, very concrete, solid way of how I should be existing And that situation, that person, that object is not giving or doing what this image of myself thinks it needs and wants. Makes sense what I'm saying here? Yes. So what is actually creating our reactions, our negative emotions, it's a solid, independent, or strong, uh, solid, independent, limited, contained way of vision or projection of how we should be or how we are, even more. Okay? So if I have that, therefore, everything that is going to kind of like feed that projection and that image, I'm going to feed to do it, right? So, oh, I should be like this, I shouldn't be like that. Oh, I should like talk like this, I should act like this, I should eat like this, I should whatever, right? And whatever is against that, I'm going to want to eliminate. Even I might want to eliminate people, right? That don't kind of like get in accordance with that, right? But that is a wrong view. This is a wrong projection. Why is a wrong projection? Because we are not solid, permanent things. We are ever changing, right? We are always changing. We are changing all the time. Even though we might not look, but you know someone that you kind of like haven't seen maybe in 10 years. And then, not even, well, nowadays it's difficult to not see a picture of someone in 10 years, but if you don't see it, and then you go and meet that person completely changed, right? Like they got old, they kind of like got kind of like different faces, or maybe they kind of like the body changed. But because we are on a daily level, on a day-to-day level, seeing ourselves in the mirror or seeing others, we don't see that we are changing. We don't think we are changing, right? But then we take a picture of us 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and now, and then we can see that change, right? Then we can see and say, wow, I changed, isn't it? Why? Because that is reality. Being changing, be constantly changing, it's how things are. And this is not, I am telling you as is something new. It's just you observing life. You're observing yourself, right? You observe your own body. Is it changing? Why sometimes, you wake up and then you have like pain, and then you kind of like, sometimes you with time you start to have, oh yes, pain here, pain there, but it's just like part of life, right? The body's changing until some point, gone, not used anymore, right? So that is the body, easy to see. Then we have the mind. The mind, it's also easy to see that it's constantly changing. Are you the same person that you were 40 years ago, 30 years ago, when you were 10? Are you? Of course not. You changed, right? You develop kind of like ways, and you develop kind of like ideas. You develop some sort of intelligence about, things and, ways of how things should be, isn't it? And you develop different wishes. But there is still that sensation that we are, that there is a me that is always there, right? But that me that we feel that is always there, it's also changing. But we don't see it like that. We don't see it, that sense of me is just the result of this changing body and this changing mind. And these two things called the body and the mind has to have a name, a label, which is called me. And that's it. But if I'm going to pinpoint what is me, I cannot describe, I cannot pinpoint. I cannot take with my finger and say, okay, which of your thoughts is me? Because when you are angry, there is a sense of me. When there is like happiness, it's a sense of me. So which ones is the me? The angry or the happy? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So that wrong idea of this inherent, this fixed, permanent me, that is wrong. That's what Buddhism is saying. That concept is wrong. That projection is wrong. So we need to eliminate that projection, because then we're going to be free. Right? We're going to be free from this projection. So if I don't think that I should be in any way, imagine, I don't have any way to be, any limitation for me how to be and how not to be. But then I have still, okay, so why do I live? Well, I'm going to start living because I want to help others. So I'm going to use this body, this speech, and this mind to help others. That's it. So if someone needs that, I'm going to need to do that. If someone needs me to clean the floor, I clean the floor. If someone needs me to be the president, I be the president. If someone needs to be this, I did that. There's nothing keeping me, limiting me. Because what is limiting us, it's our projections, our ideas. And our ideas and our projections, they are limited by our karma and our habits to think that we should be in a certain way. And the more we actually allow these negative emotions to continue happening, the more we actually create that. So we are enhancing that again and again and again and again. So that is why we say that in this life, we already came with a certain ways, a certain dispositions. So they always say, you want to know your past life? Look at your present life, because it's the result of your previous life. Do you want to know your future life? Look at your present life, because it's the cause of your future lives. Right? So why do you have a tendency to be, I don't know, like someone says something, I don't know, someone calls you in a certain way, you get angry, right? 3 people, wait. Then, why? Because it's just a habit, a habitual pattern, a habitual tendency that you created. And you came with this. And if you don't wake up for that being a habitual tendency, understanding its cause and understanding that this comes from the negative emotions, from you creating the kind of like the habitual tendency from that and the wrong view, you're not going to eliminate that. Okay? Jamie.
So is that limited sense of me, like, could you just call that like the ego?
Yes, but it's
Is that like
more, it's
ego
before the ego. It's like the ego is the modus operandi. Yes, modus operandi of that kind of like wrong view.
So it's like the manifestation of the wrong.
Yes, perfect. That's why we say there's 2 things that we need to eliminate. We need to eliminate the self-cherishing, which is the manifestation of how the ego works, right? Which is the ego, let's say like this. We need to eliminate that kind of like the wrong idea of the ego, okay? Which is the manifestation of only thinking and worrying about ourselves. And we need to eliminate the self-grasping. And what is the grasping of the self? Is believing that that self is inherent. Is existing from its own side, is permanent, is fixed. Because that is the causes for the ego to exist and for the negative emotions to manifest from the ego. And the actions with our body, speech, and mind to manifest from the ego. Make sense? Yes? That is kind of like the path. It's very good that we are doing that. I had no intention to talk about this, but I'm loving it because this is the basis of why we are doing the preliminary practices. Because if we don't understand that, we don't understand why the hell we're gonna do all of these things, right? I think just Margaret, you had a question.
Yes.
Online people, I'm so sorry. Online people, if you have questions as well, just raise the hand, okay? Thank you.
You were saying before that our habits today were reborn. They'll be our habits in the next life.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always thought it was kind of a mixed bag because you see people that are very wealthy, but
Mhm.
they are very stingy.
Mhm.
So they had to have that generosity
Mhm.
in a prior life.
Mhm.
So that could be from eons ago.
Perfect.
Okay.
So that is the result. So they did that. So they were generous at some point, right?
Yes.
So they are experiencing that result. So how was their previous life? They created at some previous life, as you were saying, the causes for it to experiencing this life, that wealth. How is going to be their next life? If they are being stingy in this life, then they're going to have the result of being stingy
At some point.
at some point, right? So that is the importance why this present moment is so important, right? Because we love what we have. We love to have these freedoms. We love to have what we like, having the wealth, having the conditions, the external, the inner conditions. But if we don't create the causes in this life to continue having that, gone. We use it, you know? Now we are experiencing it. And at some point, it's kind of like a bank. We have the bank of generosity. We created many generous kind of like actions. And if we use the results of it and we don't create from that result more karma to accumulate that result again, we just use it. Right? It makes sense?
Yes.
Yes, Bob.
You talk about, and people always talk about, you bring into this journey,
Yes.
into this incarnation,
Mhm.
what your experience was in your previous incarnation or incarnation.
Mhm.
I've always been troubled by the fact that if your journey in this incarnation has been extremely challenging,
Mhm.
it has this negative overtone that in your previous incarnation, there was something negative in your journey
Mhm.
that you brought with you.
Mhm.
If you're understanding what I'm saying,
Mhm.
you're coming, you're already coming in with a tarnished mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is exactly the point of the first teachings of the Buddha. If we don't understand that until we eliminate that wrong view, until we eliminate the karma of habitual tendencies of doing it again and again, until we eliminate our negative emotions, every life that we have, that we had, and that we will have from now on until we eliminate that, we will suffer. So that is this baseline. However, what is so important is the third noble truth. That's why the Buddha only taught the first, taught the second, which is what I just said, understanding the causes, but especially the third. And the third is good news, guys. There is a way to cessate it.
What?
A way to cessate it, to eliminate it, to completely be free from it. Right? And actually, we already have the potential within ourselves. It's already there. We just need to undo these kind of like negative emotions, right? To stop these negative emotions from arising. We need to stop adding or acting under their influence. So we need to replace these two with positive emotions or virtuous emotions and virtuous actions or behaviors. That's how we deal with these two first causes, right? Negative emotion and habitual tendency. So with positive emotions and positive habits, okay? And we need wisdom, inner wisdom, not external wisdom, not blah, 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 listening to Kalden and writing down, but not really kind of like transforming the mind. Real wisdom, which is the wisdom of seeing, perceiving the projections as projections and eliminating them. So I don't see any more projections. I see how things are. Makes sense? Instead of having the projection that I am fixed, that I am limited, that I am like this, I don't have any projection. I just see that I am causes and conditions coming together. That's it. So if I understand that, I will then use my body, my speech, and mind to make these causes and conditions beneficial for myself and others. If I want to kind of like get rich, then I need to, like, if I want to eat something, I need to plant, I want to have orange juice. Let's say that there's no such thing as going to Publix and buying orange juice. So I need to plant an orange seed. If I understand cause and effect, that's what I'm going to do. What do I want? I want to have orange juice. So what do I need to do? Plant orange trees, orange seeds. Make sense? So if I want to be happy, I want to plant the seeds for happiness. I want to be free from suffering. I want to plant the seeds to be free from suffering. That's what I'm going to do. Yes, sweetheart.
Okay. Okay, so if I am not this body and I am not this mind, but the continuity of the mind
Yes.
from previous,
Lives. Yes.
so I'm having difficulty, like, that is me.
There is what we call a conventional me. It's very good that you're saying that, because it's very I will let you ask in a question. In a minute. Thank you. What is there is always what we call a general sense of me, because there's a body and a mind coming together, right? Even the cat has a sense of me. The dog has a sense of me. The ant has a sense of me, right? The problem is not that idea. The problem is believing that that me is inherent, is permanent. For example,
Inherent and being the same thing.
they are different levels, but they are kind of like aspects of our idea. For example,
It is inherent. The mind comes with me, so it's.
The mind is not inherent. Because there is no such thing as inherent in the way of fixed, of self-existing. The mind is also cause and effect. There is a continuity, right? But that continuity is not like a soul. There is no such thing as a Sharon that is going to another life. The moment that this life finishes, the issues you had with your family, the problems you had with this or that, you're not going to even remember who it was.
But they're gonna come.
What is going to come is the habitual tendency, not the specifics of this life. You understand?
Yeah.
That is very different. So it comes the seeds, but not the specific. Not the kind of like your mom, your love to your mom, your love to your dad, your love to kind of like your daughter, nothing like this. Why? Because you're going to have another mom, another dad. Do you understand? So that is not going to kind of like continue. What continues is just that mix of cause and effect relationship of your mind. It's just coming from one life to the other. It's just coming. So it's just like, let's say the mind has the potential of being aware of things, okay? And experiencing things. So that is what is coming.
Not like something solid.
Yes.
Kind of like, I'm thinking like ghostly, like vapor
Yes,
kind of.
exactly. That's how we normally do, no? That's how we normally have that idea of kind of like, there is a, like, in movies, that it goes like out, and then there is exactly like us, the same figure, the same shape.
Yeah.
And that is like, oh, I die, and that's what continues. Nothing like that. I know, but this is exactly what it is for. It's kind of like to counteract these ideas that we have, right? So we don't have that idea. We don't continue like this. What continues is just like, for example, when you go to sleep, right? You're watching like a scary movie. And then when you go to sleep, you have scary nightmares, right? Did you have control of it? Of your nightmares?
No, but I had control of the behavior before.
Ah, there you go. Yes, you had control of the previous moment. So you know that the previous moment, whatever you do, will influence the next one. So that action in the present moment with awareness, with intention, you know that these will be what will continue to the next moment. Do you understand? Just that. Not you physically, not your likes or dislikes, nothing like this will continue. It will continue now, right? Because we are thinking in this way that, oh, it's going to come again. I'm going to be the same person in the next minute. I have to be the same person, right? So that comes with us. That wrong view comes with us. I should be like this. I shouldn't act like that. That is what we are continuously creating, right? That is the self-grasping that we are talking. And the self-cherishing is that, oh, and then I should act as this in this way to have continued that idea of who I should be. That is what we need to eliminate. Slowly, we're going to go and check about that. And
So we covered the first two causes of suffering, but I was wondering about the third.
so the third is exactly more what we are talking about now,
That's how we got-
which is the idea of this wrong view, right? So this is the third. So the first is the manifested negative emotions. The second is the karma, the continuity of habitual tendencies. And the third is the wrong view, which is the basics. If we actually have to say, there's only one, which is that wrong view. Everything comes from there, right? Like a tree. Will, do you want to open your mic and ask, please?
In 5 minutes, I'm sorry. Maybe you can continue and I'll ask in a little bit.
So I continue. Okay.
What
But
did he ask?
he didn't ask. He said that he's gonna, I think.
This point you made before that point, if you're working on the transformation,
Yes.
you're saying it, and you're trying to follow Buddhist principles
Mm-hmm.
in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that self-cherishing and grasping to want to continue that?
We want to eliminate that. These are the two things we want to eliminate: the self-cherishing and the self-grasping.
But why is wanting to follow a Buddhist path self-cherishing and self-grasping in this particular incarnation? Because if I'm trying to practice it in this moment, why don't I want to try to practice it in the next moment?
I'm not understanding. I'm sorry.
You said that you have a mind in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that mind in this moment is to follow Buddhist principles.
Yes.
You said you don't want, what I heard was,
Uh-huh.
you don't want to then continue that thought and practice in the next moment.
If I said that,
I
then
think you
then
misheard.
yeah, I
I'm
think
saying, that's why
yeah.
I'm asking you to.
No, maybe a misunderstanding from maybe if I said that, there's not definitely the opposite of this, which is actually the more I create that intention and that training in my mind now, the more it becomes.
Right.
The problem that happens is that what happens to us is we come here, we talk about Buddhism during 1 hour, and then gone.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Then what happens is comes back the normal inherent, like, kind of like self-cherishing and self-grasping, and we just leave it. Why? Because it's so ingrained, it's so automatic, it's so kind of like whatever we do is based on this. Okay? So that is kind of like what actually we want to counteract. This is exactly what we are trying. So then what we were talking that we want to have good rebirths is to continue this training, right? And at some point, what we want is to eliminate completely that kind of like self-cherishing and self-grasping. That's what we want. And then, so that is what we call the wish for liberation, the wish for nirvana. I want to be free from suffering, right? So that is the second type of scope, or the second level of goal in Buddhism. I want to be free from suffering. I want to eliminate completely, and I don't want to have any more lives that I actually, have to suffer. Done. I don't have to want to go through this anymore. So that is that really strong wish, okay, of eliminating that. But then, as we were saying in the beginning, yes, okay, I want to eliminate that, but then you guys, whatever, you guys can suffer as long as I'm feeling good. That's not a very Buddhist aspect. Why? Because we can start to understand that there is an interconnection, an interdependence. Because one of the things that we say is that you have been my parents in previous lives, or you have been in previous lives also helped me. Even in this life, you help me, right? You help me because I want to eat, I want to have this, I want to have that, I want to learn about Buddhism, I want to be able to read, I want to be able to do this. So many people have to teach us everything that we know, right? How many people are needed? Not only people, beings, animals as well, right? That are needed for us to have what we have now, the things that we enjoy. So I cannot be selfish. If I am eliminating the self-cherishing by default, by consequence, I start to be more altruistic. The more I start to decrease and eliminate my wish to only be happy for myself, the more I start to think about others. Because I start to see that the causes of my happiness is actually the kindness of others. It's because people are kind. And kind doesn't mean, kind means actually doing their jobs and producing food, producing cars, producing whatever it is that we enjoy. Do you understand? That is kindness. They are using their body to do something that you're going to receive the result of that. They're using their lives for you to experience the result and to have a pleasant experience. You understand what I'm talking about here? Yes?
What if they're not happy while they're doing it?
Don't forget, we're talking about the mechanics only. We're just talking about the mechanics. What you're saying, I really like your points because you're always a little bit step ahead, which is true. It's like, if we are just observing the happiness that we are receiving from that, let's just like focus on that. That's true, right? Especially I think in America, it's like like a God's realm. No, we have everything. We can have everything, whatever we want, whenever we want. I always like to say the Buddha 2,600 years ago as a prince, and us, same. Maybe even better now than actually being prince. Maybe being a prince nowadays worse because you have so many, people that exact restrictions that you cannot do whatever we want. We can do whatever we want, right? So just that. So everything we have is because of the kindness of others, right? We like coffee. So do you produce your own coffee? So thousands of people have been involved for you to enjoy your coffee. And insects and animals, and even that coffee that comes from the poop of the thing. So if you think about it, all of these comes from the kindness of others, right? Easy to see, just that. However, then we start to see, wait a minute, I'm also doing many things, to help others, to do my job, to do this, and I'm not happy. So maybe they're also not happy, right? Maybe they're not enjoying this. Maybe they're also suffering because I can see even when I have everything, I'm suffering. So it's easy to see the suffering of people that don't have everything that we want, that we have. Easier, right? What is harder is to see those rich people over there, politicians, rich people, and all of that, how they also suffer. That's why the word suffering is harder to develop that feeling of equanimity than dukkha. That idea of unsatisfaction, of dissatisfaction. Same? Unsatisfaction, dissatisfaction, right? That understanding that because they are under the influence of their negative emotions, and they are under the influence of their karma, and they are under the influence of their negative wrong views, they are suffering. So if we see like this, then we want to help all sentient beings. From that point of view, we want to benefit all sentient beings. How? We want to help them eliminate their suffering, and we want them to help be happy. Find true happiness, inner happiness. Makes sense? So that is what we are kind of like trying to develop. We are trying to develop then that mind that wants others to be able to be happy and others to be able to not suffer. It's a mind that makes us feel like, okay, so how do I do that? I need skills. I need, I need like, okay, like what is the plan of attack? Like what do we need? We need to become a Buddha. That's the conclusion that we're gonna get. What do you mean we need to become a Buddha? Well, because only someone that has eliminated its own suffering and has achieved a lasting happiness can show and can help others to have that. If I don't have that, how can I do that? How can I want others to be free from their suffering and be happy if I am not? You understand? Because I can say, but even the saying is not going to prove it is possible. But the moment you become that, right? You become a being that is free from suffering and has all the qualities and the skills in order to help others, then you become an authentic vehicle, an authentic role model, an authentic guide. Let's say like this.
Like a conduit.
Conduit, yes. Great word. Yes. Conduit, yes. Then you become, because otherwise, not possible. Right? Very good word. So then that is what we can kind of like start to understand. Okay, so actually that mind is what we call the mind of bodhicitta. Bodhi is enlightened. Chitta, mind. So I want to have that enlightened mind so I can help others to also have an enlightened mind. Yes, Jamie.
What's the difference between a bodhicitta and a Buddha?
Bodhicitta is the mind, let's say, that brings you into develop. When you perfected the bodhicitta mind, you become a Buddha. So it's just a state. Like it's kind of like, we have the path of training in bodhicitta. And when you don't need to train anymore, you kind of like realize it. The realization, the result of bodhicitta is the Buddha, right? So that is what we can kind of like, oh, okay. Enlightenment and Buddha is kind of like similar in that way, right? It's the same qualities. A Buddha is someone that has developed completely their qualities, seeing reality as it is, and has eliminated the suffering. That's it, which is the same or what we call the state of enlightenment. Same. Okay? And that is the kind of like the highest goal in Buddhism, wanting to achieve enlightenment, right? Wanting to develop the bodhicitta mind to achieve that goal of Buddhahood. That is the highest goal we can have in Buddhism. That is what we can do. If we achieve enlightenment, there's nothing more we can be as a being, right? We can just be, because we perfected our mind and we eliminated our suffering. That's it. We accomplished the goal that we have nowadays, which is to not suffer and to be happy. Okay? Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
If one has become a Buddha,
Mhm.
what happens in the next life?
When you become a Buddha, you eliminated the wrong view. So if there is no wrong view, there is no negative emotions, there is no karma. So you're free.
Which means
which means
You come back as.
that you, out of your own good qualities that you kind of like develop and perfected in order to become a Buddha, it's the only motivation that is going to kind of like
Go with you to the next.
go with you to wherever it is. So the thing about a Buddha, becoming a Buddha, is that we lose completely the boundaries that we have now. So what does it mean? That means that the mind, an enlightened mind, can manifest in whatever way is beneficial. And it can manifest in different realms at the same time. So that means that I can manifest in all the time, every moment, for others to benefit. Because right now, what is keeping us from that is that wrong view that thinks that we are just this ghost that is like, kind of like fixed. It's understanding the mind of the Buddha is a totally different level. We're not going to talk about it today because otherwise we don't even start the but it is the basics of understanding the potential. And that is so special because we can feel it already when we let it go of some of our like neuroses and kind of like ideas. And when we do something to benefit others, wow, how our minds already open up. And then, oh, I haven't thought about that. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I can also do this. The mind starts to get creative. There's no such thing as more creative than the Buddha's mind, right? Because it's just there with one intention, to benefit others, to help. And what it means benefit in this context, it means bringing others to enlightenment state. So that means bringing others to eliminate the suffering and the causes of suffering and perfect their qualities. That's what we are talking about, benefiting others. We are not only talking about benefiting others in being kind, in being loving, in giving food, and giving that. This is established as good, and we do it, but it's a bit further down the line. Okay? A little bit more the benefit of Buddhism. The benefit of Buddhism is to help others eliminate their suffering and their causes of suffering, and be able to develop their qualities in an unconditional and unlimited ways. Yes? Make sense? That is the goal. Okay? So for doing that, now we can start. We need to develop our minds on the stages, on kind of like stages of development in order to achieve enlightenment, right? We cannot just say now, okay, I'm going to stop seeing things in inherent what is
Conventional?
no you use the word inherent or permanent, intrinsic, solid way, right? Oh, I'm just stop. Doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Why? Because it's just our status quo, our reality, right? It's just who we are. It's just like appears to us without us making anything. It just appears to us. It just appears to us. Okay. So that means that we need to actually develop our minds in order to achieve that, in order to eliminate our negative tendencies and habits and behaviors that we are doing because of our wrong views. So we need to eliminate these two things. That's what we want to eliminate. We want to eliminate the wrong view, and we want to eliminate the negative emotions and the negative habits. Right? Makes sense? So how do we do that? How do we eliminate the wrong views? Through wisdom, eliminating wisdom. Okay? So how do we eliminate wisdom? By doing exactly what we are doing here. Talking about it, learning about it, contemplating about it, meditating about it. Right? There's no other way. We cannot develop wisdom just saying, okay, wisdom, come. No, it doesn't come. Right? So we need to create the causes, and the causes for it is to study, to contemplation, to meditation. That's it. How do we then eliminate the negative actions and the habitual tendencies, the karma, the negative karma? By studying, by doing then preliminary practices. Okay. And by then, making these more and more, just that, like just do counteracting this, replacing, so stopping. The way we do it, the best way to describe is how do we eliminate, our negative tendencies and our karma or habitual tendencies, is by eliminating or decreasing or purifying our minds from these negative emotions, from these negative tendencies. What does it mean? It's like, oh, this is negative. I shouldn't, continue doing that. And the opposite, by replacing it with an antidote of a positive or a virtuous mind. Okay? So, what we are actually talking about when we are talking about preliminary practices, when we are really talking about, how do I do this? I want to open the, yes. Okay. Because I need it first. Okay. Let's start doing it. How are you guys doing? Still surviving? Yes? Okay. We can have a little break.
Do we get extra points for being here?
Yes, you definitely get extra points. Okay, so preliminary practices. What are preliminary practices? The Ngöndro, why they are important, the Gelupa tradition and the practices itself. Okay, what are preliminary practices? Okay, so that is very important that we understand what are preliminary practices, because preliminary practices are all of the practices that we're going to do with our body, speech, and mind in order to achieve these two aims of purifying or decreasing our negative emotions and our negative karma, and accumulating or enhancing our positive qualities or virtuous mindset, or as the words, which is, I don't like it, but the word accumulating merits. I don't like that because merit almost looks like a coin, like, oh yeah, I have merits. No, merit only means a positive mental state. That's it. Positive mental state, a positive action of speech, a positive action of body. That's it. Makes sense? Because the more I develop that, the more I become habituated to that, the more I create, the qualities of it, the more I create the karma using the mechanics of karma, of cause and effect, the more I create that, and the more I use it as an antidote for my negative actions and negative behaviors, right? So if I have a tendency to be kind, then I'm going to have less tendency to be unkind. Make sense? Yes? So that is the idea. So that is what like the preliminary practices are about. They are the way that the Buddhist teachings comes to actually help us, accumulate these positive intentions and to eliminate these negative or purify. Purification is also a difficult word maybe sometimes to use, but is to clear our body, speech, and mind from these habits. Let's say it like this. That is what purification means in that way. Okay? So that's why they are called Ngöndros or preliminaries. So to go, like actually Ngöndro means to go before. Something that goes before something, or something that comes like something that leads to something else, right? That's what before it comes. So, or that idea of preparation. Preparation for what? Right? For our spiritual journey. That's what it is. So it's funny because we think that, oh, then everybody should just start preparing, before they are Buddhists, they should start doing this so they can start to do it. No. In the Gelugpa tradition, in this tradition here, what we do is that we start to study about Buddhism and understand about it, and then we bring the preliminary practices as a way to keep our kind of like our motivation and our intention and our practice going. So, but more than that, the preliminary practices are something that we do in relation to before we do what we call tantric practices. Okay, so what are tantric practices? Tantra in Buddhism means the swift path. Is the path that wants to achieve enlightenment, is the path that is already in bed with the wish to be free from suffering, what we call renunciation. I want to be free from suffering, right? And I want to do this to help others. So bodhicitta. So these two mindsets needs to be there. If I understand that, so I come to the conclusion that I want to do that very fast, right? I want to be free from suffering tomorrow because I'm suffering, but also because I'm tired of seeing other people suffering, right? I'm just tired. I don't want this anymore. It's very sad to see it. So I want to do it very fast. So that is what the tantric path is about. But because it is like, you can get from here to Miami driving, a kind of like a easy car, or you can get a
Right line.
no, I was thinking about more. You can get a Ferrari or a Lamborghini and go at like 300 miles per hour. Zoom, right? Both of them are going to get you there. But let's face it, which one is more dangerous? Right? Driving at 300 per mile or driving at 70? Right? Driving at 300 per mile, 300 miles per hour is much, much more difficult, and you need to have more kind of like control. You need to have more skills to drive a car like this. It's not just like you go and try to be a Formula One driver. It's not like easy, right? Why? Because it can be dangerous. It can have a specific. So that is what the tantric path is. We need to be careful because we're going to use our body, speech, and mind in some ways that can make our bodies and speech and mind, also suffer a little bit if we don't make it correctly. Okay? Will, you have a question now?
Yeah, I did have a question. As we're coming into the start of this presentation, if you could kind of mention, okay, so yes, and then the after, right, is related to the Mahamudra path or like this, or just Ngöndro as its own path. Just because in my case, I'm in Karma Kaigyu, but I'm coming today to learn more about Ngöndro. And so I don't want to get confused. I don't want to get confused about like what the outcome
Very
is.
good. Very, very, very good. So
Thank you.
the Ngöndros are preparations for all of the kind of like highest paths, or as we call, which are either the tantric highest yoga tantra path, or the Mahamudra path, or the Dzogchen path, right? So these are specific methods. There are kind of like tantric methods that one needs to, or one can do it in order to develop or to achieve enlightenment faster. But for that, you need to have a basis of first understanding of the sutra, and second, the development of the Ngöndros, because they are kind of like.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Very much so. And what I wanted to say is before you're talking about seed, right? And so, for example, right now, let's say I was had a short Vajrasattva mantra or a short Guru Rinpoche mantra, right? And I know those sounds, right, but I don't really know what they experientially mean, right? So like in the preliminary, you do all the practices and then later you come to the meanings after.
Yeah.
right?
Well, no, you kind of like you need to do it
Okay.
together. So that's what we're gonna try to do it today. We're gonna go through each
Okay.
of these preliminary practices and we're gonna talk about what they mean, what is there, what are they for, what do they mean, and why we are doing it, so we can engage with them. Of course, we can engage with them because of our understanding and our, in some ways, faith, because we already studied a bit of Buddhism and then we understand that they can, just what we just said here, that's the most important thing, the motivation. If we develop that intention and that motivation, even if we not understand 100% why putting my body in the floor, and doing that, but if I do it with that intention of decreasing my self-cherishing, decreasing my wrong views, and kind of like accumulating merit, then it's already kind of like very virtuous and it's going to help. But the more we develop our understanding and the more we understand exactly the mechanics of the practices, wow, then they start to have a meaning, then they become even more powerful of transformation. Then we can really transform. But this is exactly what it is. So they are preparation for that, for these fast paths of kind of like, of highest yoga tantra, of kind of like, of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, which are specific ways of meditation. Okay. So then is like what we need to understand is that why they are important. So I think that it's clear why, they are preparation. They are like ways for us to counteract what we are actually doing today and how to like achieve the two goals that we want. Okay. So that is like the purpose of doing that, is to purify our negative minds, purify the what is not allowing us to develop, our good heart, develop, our positive qualities. That's what we are trying to do. And the more we do it, the more our minds become more relaxed and more clear, the more it helps us to realize the correct view. Right? For example, if I have a tendency of stealing or lying, if I have if I lie to someone, then I go to bed, and I'm like, oh, maybe someone's going to discover that I lied or that I stole something. So I get worried about it, right? So my mind becomes disturbed with that. So when I go to sit down and meditate on emptiness, that things don't exist from their own side, that my mind is shaken by that. But the more I eliminate that, oh, actually, I did some very nice things today. I had some these, I did these. I can see that, I didn't lie. I'm decreasing that. My mind is relaxed. So the more my mind is relaxed, the more I can meditate on emptiness, meditating on seeing the things as they are. Then it becomes better, my meditation, better my study, better my contemplation. Make sense? Okay? So that is why these two things go together. We say the accumulation, or the purification and the accumulation of merits and the accumulation of wisdom. So studying, contemplating, and meditating. One thing the more we do that, the more we understand the purifications, the preliminary practices. The more we do the preliminary practices, the more our minds become clear and relaxed, the more we can actually meditate. Okay, that is very, very important. Okay, so the Gelupa tradition. So let's go into what are the practices, because otherwise we're going to be here and we're not going to talk about what are the practices. Ta-da-na-na. These are the 9 practices. Okay, in the Gelupa tradition. So the Gelupa tradition is the tradition of Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa was this 14th century teacher from Tibet that he studied under the different schools that existed. So the Nyingma school, which is called the old school, the Kagyu school, which is more the meditator school, and the Sakya school. Okay, so they were the existing schools. What are they having in difference? The emphasis that they put on how to achieve enlightenment. Some of them a little bit more study, some of them more retreat, some of them more practice, So that is what it is. But they all Tibetan Buddhism, they are all inside of Mahayana Buddhism, or this wish, they have this motivation of wanting to help others. Okay? That is there. So the Lama Tsongkhapa, what he actually created, it was a specific path, especially based on study. He's saying, if we don't study, we cannot, is it too cold? A little bit, no? Yeah.
Okay.
If it is,
Want
it's
me
a
to
bit,
change it?
we just put them back. And then what it, because I left on last
Yeah. No, good.
So what happens is that we are kind of like, he's saying, we need to study. If we're going to do something, we need to study before and understand it so we can do it properly, right? Because blind faith doesn't work so much in Buddhism. So we need to understand what we are doing. So, okay, so as we said, preliminary practices have two main goals, which are purifying or eliminating our negative tendencies and accumulating or developing good qualities, or accumulating virtuous mindsets. So each of these practices, they do both of these, right? They kind of like create that. Okay, they counteract these two aspects of the mind. So the prostrations, let's start with the prostrations to the 35 Buddhas. You guys already wrote down? Okay, we're gonna try to go each by each. What time did I say it is? What is the
break?
schedule? The break?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll check.
So then prostrations. Oh, first of all, we're gonna talk about the purification aspect of it. How do we purify? Okay, all of the purification part of all of these practices, they need to be done on the basis of what we call the four opponent powers. Okay, so how do we purify our minds? How do we purify it? The power of the object, or the power of reliance, we say. The power of reliance, it means that we are counteracting this selfish way of thinking that me, myself, and I knows everything, and taking refuge in Instagram, Amazon Prime, and Netflix, and start of saying, I'm actually going to start realizing that these holy beings, these Buddhas, these Bodhisattvas, the Dharma, my inner aspects of developing it are much more reliable than external things. Does it make sense? So the reliance is that I'm going to rely on something that can actually transform my mind to a better experience. And not just like I'm going to transform my mind by like, having a little bit of sugar rush, or, or being happy for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but I want to be happy forever. So I want to find, something that can help me with that. So that is why we talk about the power of the object, or the power of reliance comes in understanding the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, right? So this is I'm relying on it. And I'm relying on my own wish of wanting to achieve enlightenment to benefit others. So I'm relying on my own bodhicitta motivation. That is very powerful. I'm not actually just thinking about others, about like relying on something that might look outside, but I'm actually relying on my own kind of like energy, my own intention of goodness, of being able to benefit others. Okay? So that is always the base. We always have that there. Then we have the power of regret. Okay? So regret is not guilt. It's not like, oh, I'm a horrible person. Which actually, I was watching something and they were talking more about shame. Shame is something that we actually see more as I'm a horrible person. And guilt is more an action. Oh, I feel guilt because I did that, right? So guilt is in a way something like, oh, I can see that I shouldn't have said that,
Like acknowledgement.
Yes, well, regret is more the acknowledgement, right? The regret is the action of saying, oh, okay, I kind of like, I shouldn't have said that. So I'm regretting that, right? So the guilt comes like of understanding of like, oh, I feel guilt that I did that. Shame is, I am a bad person. right? Let's say that I lose my temper with my mom, with my partner, with my friends, with my colleague at work, of my, children, and I feel shame. I say, oh, I'm a horrible person. I'm a horrible, I'm a horrible mother. I'm a horrible this. I'm a horrible that. That is shame. That has nothing to do with this, because this has no benefit whatsoever. So shame comes from not understanding. Shame comes from wrong view, inherently solid existence, right? So not really in accordance with reality. Yes, sir.
Shame, you say shame comes from wrong view.
Everything comes from wrong view, but from that specific wrong view of me being solid inherent. Because when I say, oh, like I lied to someone, I'm a liar, I'm a horrible person. So I see myself as being that forever fixed, permanent. That is shame. You understand? And seeing that as a bad thing. Oh, I'm a bad person. Guilt has more oh, I said something, so I did an action, and I know that that action was bad. But I know that I also say good things, and I'm also having nice things, So I'm not generalizing my view of myself. It's a more balanced view. It is still coming from a wrong view, but it's a more balanced view. Yes.
But if we are the result of our conditioning,
We
if we as human beings
yes,
are the result of our conditioning, our
Yeah.
environment, what we grow up in.
yes.
So coming from that in our incarnation, we don't know
It's
what.
the opposite.
Go ahead.
Buddhism is going to be the opposite. Buddhism is going to be the reason why you are born in this family, with this environment, with that, is because you created the causes. So you are creating the external conditions, not the external conditions are creating you.
Can you go a little deeper on that, or you're going to leave me hanging?
It's pretty straightforward.
See, no, it's this idea that, like, actually, the way we understand, the way we kind of like we work on our minds, the way the things appear in our minds, and we believe in them being true or not, okay, and reacting to them and acting to because of that, we are creating our reality. Like everything that we do, like for example, why there is climate change. We are not like climate change is not making us change or making us do something. We are creating climate change. How? Our greedy mind.
But
Right?
I incarnate as a child. I incarnate as an infant.
Because of what.
But you created the causes in previous life to experience the result of being born in a world where there is climate change. Otherwise, you would not experience that. It doesn't matter that you're not creating that now. Maybe you are an animal now, in this life. You are a cow and you are farting, so therefore you're also using like making it worse the climate change, right? Let's say like this, but you're still creating the causes for it. You cannot experience the result if you haven't created the causes for it. That is the mechanics of karma. You can't experience the result if you haven't created the causes. If that was true, if I could experience the result of something that I haven't created the causes, if I would do this in myself, you or anyone could experience that. You understand that? Look at me. If I would have created, if I would not have created the causes to experience a result, if I would do this, you would have to feel it. This is without a cause. You don't have, right? That's what I'm saying. What we are saying in another level is that, oh, I'm just experiencing this result, but I haven't created the cause. It's impossible. It's impossible.
So there's no such thing as blame.
There is no such thing as blame. In reality, no. There's only cause and effect. But we are not there. We are confused, right? We don't leave from that understanding. We leave.
We can.
Yeah, that's what we want. That is one of the reasons why we need to meditate and understand these things, so we can eliminate that wrong view. So blame comes when we completely see, that's why I said, in a self-existing inherent way, without any cause and conditions. Then I blame myself. That's why regret, the power of regret, which is the second type of power, talks about what? Talks about understanding exactly what we are discussing. Oh, wait a minute. The reason why I act like that is because I was angry. Why did anger came in my mind? Because I have the habit, the karma of being angry, of reacting to anger. Why I have this karma is because I have a wrong view. Right? So then regret means, oh, I regret I am not able to see and to undo all of these things right now. And I have done this in the past, okay? By my confused mind, I have committed these actions again and again and again. But right now, I want to change. So I'm going to create the power through the power of refuge, taking refuge in my own goodness, in the Buddhas and Dharma and Sangha that help me to actually achieve that, to completely eliminate my wrong actions, my wrong habitual karma, and my wrong view. So that is the power of the remedy. So I need to do something to counteract it. So I'm going to do one of these preliminary practices that will use my body, my speech, and my mind to train my mind in eliminating these things, right? But then, okay, I do it. And then I say, okay, done for today. And then I go out and I make everything dirty again. You know, I continue getting angry. I don't control my mind. I don't see it. I don't meditate. I don't remember these things. So then we have the power of refraining, the fourth power. So it's a strong commitment to say, I will try my best to not do it again. Makes sense? Because these two are very important. The power of regret, which comes from understanding, and the power of refraining or restraining.
Resolve is the way I'm
Resolve.
resolving not to do it.
Yeah, resolving not to do it, but it's the power of like, I want to stop. I don't want to do it again. I want to make a resolve that I'm not going to do it again. Why? Because I understand the bad effects that this brings to me and others. Because I have this understanding now. So these are the opponent powers. Opponent to what? To everything that we have now, right? Which is taking refuge in outside things, being blame or shame or guilt, right? We do things with our body, speech, and mind that are the opposite of helping, right? And we don't make any refraining. We just let it loose, you know? That's what we do. So that's why these four powers are very important for us. Make sense? Will, you have a question? Will, we can't hear you. Do you have a question?
He had his hand up before and I probably.
Ah, yeah,
didn't
he
take
just do it.
down.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
wait.
I was muted.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so
You have-
what I wanted to say was, if you consider the preliminary like as a refraining, sort of, and contemplating the refraining and doing that as your practice, would then once you advance into Vajrayana or Tantra, like you would be transforming and accepting the nature of the negativity and all that later, right? That would be a second type practice. Yeah.
Yes.
So you
Yes,
have to
so-
do the preliminary of refraining before you can do the tantric one.
That's exactly this. That's why they are before a preparation of. Because if we don't understand the way that our minds are working right now and the way that they are creating our suffering right now, we can't use that understanding that actually when we go to Tantra, that the nature of these negativities in some ways, they are pure, right? That is very profound and very hard. So that's why we can't go there now, because otherwise we're going to make it difficult, because we're just going to say, oh, then I don't need to refrain. Actually, the more I refrain, the more I actually engage into the preliminary practice, the more I subdue my mind and what was the word that I used that I said that I don't remember. The more I subdue my mind, the more I have the space to actually start then to see the reality, meditating on kind of like on what we call, Mahamudra and what we call, Dzogchen and the highest yoga tantra. To
Yeah,
really see it.
I can comment too. That just I feel like even not having begun Ngöndro, that just spending say like participating in 5 different Vajrasattva chugs, and
Yeah.
just having time with samatha and having time with the Vajrasattva practices, and then you realize you have to do the practices. So.
Yes, it's very important. It's like that's why when we do a 3 years retreat, the first year of retreat is only doing the preliminary practices. It's just preparing the mind to then go subtle, because what we are trying, if you think about it, the mind being kind of like having a gross aspect of it, which is all these negative emotions, all these confusions and all of that. So the purifications of the 4 opponent powers, they're going to help with these, like clear away, and then we have a more subtle mind, and then we can enter into these kind of like meditations, of the highest yoga tantra. Okay, prostrations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Will.
We have
Um,
12:30.
Okay, good. Do you? Yeah, okay. Well, we're not gonna. Do you guys want to have it? If you feel that you need a tea or pee break or something, you can go for for a moment. I just gonna continue slowly, but because yes, otherwise we're never gonna be able to touch a little bit of this. Yeah.
I get the impression that as opposed to us focusing on eliminating a wrong view, if we occupy our mind and our life with positive good things, bodhicitta, kindness,
Yes.
and helping others, then the wrong view will be less closer. We will get rid of the wrong view by just filling our life with the positive things.
Unfortunately, not.
Okay.
And that is kind of like what we really need to be clear of, the 2 wings of what brings to enlightenment, is because we share that kind of like idea of being positive, kind, and bodhicitta with other traditions in some ways, right? Like the Christianity and all of these other traditions, all of them actually, the Muslims, the Jewish, everything is talking a lot about being kind to others, being, like a beneficial to society, to the world, but none of them is actually in some ways talking so much about the wisdom, saying what is the wrong, the cause of our suffering. That we don't talk so much in other centers, in other traditions. That is very specific about Buddhism. So the inner understanding of wisdom, right, and development of this wisdom is very a unique feature of Buddhism, right? Why? Because it is to understand the mind. And then if we understand the reason why these situations are happening is because of the way our minds work now, and we understand the nature of our minds and the way the nature of our minds is, and the way our minds are working right now, how they are in disharmony, let's say like this, then we understand what the wisdom is about, which is to just make our minds be one with the nature of how things are. That's it. It should be very simple. Okay. So prostrations. What is prostration? So prostration is actually a aspect, mainly, let's say, of course, everything that we do in the preliminary practice, we do with body, speech, and mind. Okay, but it's mainly something that we do with our bodies. Okay, so it is, as I've been explaining, kind of like using our body with in a certain specific posture that will counteract our negative emotions, and especially it will purify our pride. That mind that thinks that I don't need anyone, that I know best, that I know everything, and all of that. Because putting ourselves on the ground, you know, it's actually humbling us to say, you know, I might need help in order to follow this path. I might need, you know, kind of like to develop other skills and other qualities to be able to say that I know everything, you know? So it is something that is kind of like really special, really, really special. And we do what we call the prostrations for the what we call, so this is the gesture. I'm gonna show you how we do, okay? So first of them is the gesture of, this is the actual gesture of prostration, okay? Like this for the people online, okay? So I'm unifying my two hands, okay? So as you can see in the middle of this image, I don't know how I found this image, it's amazing, you know, because I would never do it. AI maybe could do it, but I'm very bad at that. But so then like this. So what it symbolizes, as I've been explaining almost every time we do it, the right hand side, it symbolizes our the development of our qualities, our compassion, our wish for bodhicitta, right? It's kind of like the wish that we're gonna kind of like continues using our body, speech, and mind to benefit others, to achieve enlightenment ourselves so we can help others. So this is the method, it's like we're gonna really do that. And the left symbolizes that, as we were discussing now with Steve, you know, only being kind and being nice to people is not going to bring me to enlightenment. I need wisdom. So the left represents wisdom. Okay? So these two together becomes a wish fulfilling jewel. A jewel, wish fulfilling. So what means wish fulfilling? It means something that can give whatever I want. So all the happiness that I want from this life comes from, you know, developing my good heart and good qualities and seeing reality as it is. Everything that I want in next lives to happiness, my happiness of next life comes from this. All my happiness in all my future lives comes from understanding this. All my happiness, I'm talking about true happiness, right? Not the happiness, the pleasures we have now. That one we know how to find. But the happiness of understanding that just by developing my mind and realizing how things exist and how my interdependence with others brings me happiness, where we were discussing like before, this is the type of happiness that I want to achieve in my future lives and my forever lives. Okay? So these two things, compassion and wisdom, together can bring me that. So that's what is called a wish fulfilling job. Okay? And this is an inner path. So that's why we put the thumbs inside. We cannot get it in Publix or in Walmart or in delivery through Amazon. I know. I know. It would be so easier, no, if we could do that. So that is the first thing. Then what we're going to do is that, okay, what do I want to do? I want to purify, you know, all my negative actions with my body, all of the stealing, all of the killing of ants, all of the killings of animals, all of the killing of human beings that I've done. Not only in this life, but previous lives. I don't know. I have no idea. Not because in this life we are kind of like, you know, not killing others. We don't know if we haven't killed. Can you? Can you say it? Can you like affirm I never killed a human being? Yeah, maybe in this life I see, but maybe in future, in previous lives, right? So That's what we are trying to purify. We're trying to purify all our negative actions with our body, you know? So that is why, remember, the four opponent powers always have to be there, okay? The power of reliance, the power of regret, the power of the remedy, or what it is, the practice itself, in this case, the prostrations, and the power of resolve or restraint. We are here talking specifically the power of regret more. So regretting our actions of body, okay? So then we want to be able to remember that we say when we become a Buddha, we can manifest in whatever way. So we need peace, the jewel, which is the mind of a Buddha, which has compassion and wisdom. So we're gonna touch our crown, the crown of our heads, and that represents in a way that everything can manifest from here. All of our kind of like, if I need to manifest 1,000 arms, if I need to manifest 1,000 legs, if I need to manifest whatever it is, through compassion and wisdom, I will be able to. May I be able to. So we do it like this. And then we're going to purify all of the actions that we did with our body. So here represents the body, okay? And we're going to purify with compassion and wisdom all of the actions with our speech as well. And we're going to purify with our compassion and wisdom all of the actions that we did with our mind. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So now, people from home.
I can hold the camera.
No, I can add spotlight or replace spotlight. Remove spotlight. No. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and then you guys can. Yeah. Okay, now let me take this one down. Stop, remove spotlight. Okay, then you guys can see. So now I'm gonna tell you how do we do it? Okay, physically. Okay. You don't need to. No, it's just okay. So how we do the full body prostration? So we have 3 types of prostration. First one, just that. Easy peasy. You know, you see something, so you prostrate. You know, you prostrate to the Buddhas. You prostrate. Why is prostrating again? We are counteracting our pride. So we are saying, wow, you know, these beings, these images, they represent the, you know, someone that has enlightened themselves in order to help others, right? So I'm prostrating for that, and I'm prostrating because they are showing me the path for myself to be able to develop this. In some ways, we're prostrating to our own future potential, right? You just say, no, you can sit down, but just for them to see it better, you know? So that's what prostration means. Then we do the 5 points prostration, which is the short prostration that we normally do, okay? So they all involve with touching, maybe like these, I think people from home can see better. So, Steve, if you maybe can you sit down, please? Yeah, thank you. You can stand. No, you can stay. You can stay. It's just because of it. So we're gonna touch our forehead with this idea. No, we come together first. We touch our forehead. I want to be, you know, free from suffering. I want to help all sentient beings, and I want to manifest in whatever ways. I want to purify my body. I want to purify my speech. I want to purify my mind. And you know, I regret everything that I've done. So I put my 2 hands. Those 5 points: 2 hands, 2 knees, 4, and the forehead, 5. Okay? And I come back. So that is the short. And now we do the full body prostration. Okay? So the full body prostration, we're going to do same thing. Come together and compassion and wisdom. And I want to purify my body, speech, and mind so I can actually have all the qualities, all the manifestations. I want to purify my body, my speech, my mind. And, you know, I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna go all the way up, okay? And I can either do this, and I'm gonna explain, or you can just do another like this. Just do it like this, okay? And then I come up, and I come back here. So this is a full body exercise. If you do that, you don't need to go to the gym, okay? So that has the intention for us to really put ourselves on the ground, okay? To really put ourselves in a humble position, in a humble posture, to see that we need these two things in order to develop our mind, right? And this is due to the kindness of others, and to realize how we've been doing kind of like difficult things for others as well. So it's a kind of like it's a way to see, wow, you know, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible to be able to do these practices. We might not understand the benefit of how these do in the beginning, but the more we do it, the more we can see, you know, how these things kind of like starts to change our approach to life. Okay? And we're gonna do that. So we said the power of regret, we already talked about. The power of remedy is this prostration. Okay, that is the remedy to do that. The power of reliance, or the power of resolve, we said, which is the reliance now, the power of resolve and the power of restraint, which is I'm not going to do it again. But the power of reliance. Here, it's a specific reliance. We are relying on a specific Buddhas, what we call the 35 Buddhas of compassion, and the medicine Buddhas. I'm going to share with you who are these people, so we can understand, you know, who are they? So the 35 Buddhas they were Buddhas that when they were becoming enlightened, they said, I'm the power of their prayers. They said, I want to benefit others. Okay? So these are they. So these are the 35 Buddhas. Okay? And the 7 medicine Buddhas down here. So when we are doing prostrations, we are actually trying to visualize these Buddhas. Because they did what? They were making prayers saying, when I become a Buddha, may I be able to help all those beings that ask me to become, you know, to help them. Yes?
Is this the Supreme Assembly that we talk about when we say the refuge path?
We could call them as well, like part of the what we call the Supreme Assembly is the Sangha. So the Sangha are those that have realized, you know, directly realizations of reality, and therefore they are here to come and help us. But what normally we talk about the Supreme Assembly are more like people like Rinpoche, like Lama, like His Holiness. They're more kind of like, you know,
Venerable Kalden.
living beings, you know, that kind of like have this realization that we say, wow, these beings have the potential to guide me, right? And the Buddhas as well, of course, but the Buddhas not necessarily, they are kind of like have a direct connection with us in the same way that they will have, you know, like Lama Zopa, we could just Skype with Lama Zopa, right? So with these Buddhas, we cannot do something like that. But if we do the prayers and we do exactly the requests for them, wow, many things can happen. Many things can happen. Very special. When, you know, you do these prayers, you can start to see sometimes that many things, because we are trying to purify our negative actions, when we are doing the preliminary practices, many things come up. We can have a lot of kind of like, you know, things coming up that we are not aware, or we didn't want to be aware, or that we have been hiding, right? And especially things that like we might not even remember, right? And we can have dreams, or we can even become sick sometimes, you know, but nobody died because of that. But it's just like that is almost like a purification, you know, like what do we call, like when you have, yeah, like a detox, like when we have fever, right? What fever is? It's just your body trying to expel that kind of like negative thing from your body, isn't it? That's what it's doing. So that sometimes can be some of the side effects. But also what happens mostly is your mind becomes extremely pure, more clear. Literally, it's a very funny thing. You know, sometimes if I don't sleep well, I do prostrations. I try to do prostrations almost every day, you know, because I'm very lazy, so I sometimes don't do it. So, you know, like when I'm like, oh, not so much, and then you do it, you can feel it. The mind becomes better immediately because of the power of what I call the match, right? Your wish to wanting to be helped, your wish to wanting to develop and decrease your pride, your wish to wanting to benefit others, your wish to achieve enlightenment with those prayers, their prayers, then it together comes together. So it becomes a very powerful mind, a very powerful experience. So you know we can go so much deeper into these prostrations because we're gonna chant some of these mantras like that one that we have over there, you know, and we're gonna do it as what we try to do is that we're going to try to do one prostration for each Buddha. So at least 35. Okay? Plus the 7 medicine Buddhas, 42. Okay? So we try to do them, and while we're doing the mantras, we can already do. And then one of the most important is that it's called 35 Buddhas of confession. So at the end, after we do the prayers, we're going to do a confession. And that confession is a prayer that is very nice because it says, you know, in all my previous life, all of the times that I have lied, that I have kind of like, you know, killed, that I have done this, it's a way to say, as I like to say, it's like a legal disclaimer of the Buddhas. You know, it's kind of like just put everything there so it doesn't kind of like make us leave anything behind, even if it's like because maybe we're sleepy or anything like that. But it's like just do it over there, and it's like every time you stole, every time you killed, every time you kind of like, you know, sexual misconduct, every time you did this, every time you did that, anything that you did wrong, it's covered by that, right? That confession. And confession means different than shame, because shame and like, you know, is hidden. It's like nobody can know this. I know I should not tell. When you tell to the Buddhas, it becomes kind of like, oh, I can acknowledge this, right? So you put it out there. I have done these things, and I'm, you know, not ashamed anymore. I feel regret, and I'm gonna create the intention to not do it again. Okay? Does it make sense so far? The prostrations? Yes? It's very important. So there's a beautiful, all of these I can share with you. There's a specific prayer, you know, there's specific practice. And even nowadays, there's a YouTube video that you can just put it over there and sing along. Oh, it's very good. I sometimes like this, you know. Sometimes I'm tired of my own voice. I just put it over there, you know. It's a beautiful nun called Venerable Yonten, I think. And she just like sings very beautiful. So then you just there was one from Annie Karen, which is this Swedish nun, has been teaching at Kopan for like 40 years. Beautiful voice, soothing voice, like oh, now when you go like and then you do like 120, 200 per stations, and you don't even feel it, you know. It's like very nice. The problem is just the body next day, you know. So you need to start slowly because sometimes the body can be wow, you know, especially the core here, you know. Ooh, when you start, it's like you really feel it. Be careful as well with the body, you know, if you have problems in your shoulders or anything, it's always good to put like something on the knees, you know. You can put like a towel, you can put like a blanket, whatever, so you don't put your knees, you know. And we have, I forgot mine, but we have what we call prostrations pads, which is, I think I had it here in this picture. Wait a minute. Yes, do you see this thing that these older ladies doing here, this older nun? You see? So it's something that you put to slide better, you know. So if you go to Nepal, this nun is doing it around one of the stupas. And if you go to Tibet, some of these people, they walk kilometers from one place to another doing prostrations as a way to kind of like feel that they want to purify themselves when they arrive at that place, that they can have, you know, a good experience. Very special, very special. It's very touching to do prostrations for yourself and to see others doing prostrations. Okay? Any questions so far about prostrations? Everybody know how to do it?
No, you
No.
said that you were gonna say one is like your hand.
So one, when we do it like this, is that we are touching the basis of, we can visualize that we are touching the basis of these, the how do you call that? The thrones of each Buddha. As you visualize the Buddha in front of you, you know? And each of these Buddhas, they have a specific name. So it's like Tathagata, here, I think we have it here.
Yeah, we used to do the 35 Buddhas here.
Yes,
once a month.
no? I think we have it here. Like, yes, I don't know why there's not coming anything to me right now. Where we have it? No, no. Funny. So it's like each of them has their names. It's kind of like to say one of the qualities that they wanted, or one of the kind of like the prayers that they did in order to benefit others, right? So it's kind of like all of them have a specific preliminary prayers.
Like golden light shine through.
Yeah, exactly. Or kind of like to the Buddha of wealth or something like that, you know, like to kind of like that we can develop like okay, here, radiant jewel, or army of heroes, you know, the heroes of kind of like, which are actually people that are, you know, kind of like wanting to become enlightened, you know, these are heroes, you know, jewel moonlight, or that means that the moonlight is who develop, you know, emptiness, or develop bodhicitta. So all of the stainless one bestowed with courage. So all of them, you know, that they prayed for everybody to have courage to continue on the path. So all of these has a meaning. Everything has a meaning, you know, and
Hands just go like
and then you can just go like this, you know, you just kind of
Together.
like go like this,
still together.
two together. Yeah, very important that we are together. And then like that is also, you're just doing another prostration to the specific Buddha, you know, and that like that throne. So you can do it like this as well. Each of them are okay. And what else? There's a lot of things to say, but you know, when you're going up, you can think that you're bringing all of the beings who are suffering, you know, in the hell realms, in the all the lower realms, that you're bringing them up, you know. You can like, you really, you can make it so much deeper. And then you, one of the things that we'd say is that we visualize thousands of bodies, you know, our bodies prostrating, you know, in front of all of the holy objects, or all of like the entire world. Our bodies are, you know, can you imagine, like you see 95, or you know, US1, the entire US1 with you prostrating like this, you know, like something like this. Or you go to the beach, all the beach with bodies of you prostrating. It's very kind of like, why? Because for the mind, the visualization, and remember, we are trying to eliminate the mind and the habitual tendencies of the mind. So for the mind, there's no difference if we are doing one body, if we're visualizing 1,000 bodies. It's exactly the same. So the more we actually do, the vaster the mind becomes. So the more we actually do it, the better for the mind in that case. So there is there is an, I'm sorry, I said there is no, for the mind doesn't make difference, doesn't make difference in relation to what we are actually doing with our bodies, right? If we are doing one prostration, but if we are visualizing ourselves doing 1,000 prostrations, for the mind, we are doing it, right? We're doing it. That is very important. Okay, water bowls. Let's go and let we can, I think we're gonna be good. Yes?
Tara is considered a Buddha,
Yes.
right? Oh, okay. All right. So
Yes.
she might be with the 35.
So actually, she is not now, because it's a specific. So these 35 Buddhas, they have made specific prayers for this specific practice. Let's say like that. You know, he said, those that do prostrations to me, do the confession prayers and ask me, I'm going to make them do that. So it's a specific connection. Yesterday, we did the specific prayers for the 21 Taras, which is a specific connection with Tara, right? So it's just different modes. But of course, when we visualize, we're going to talk about refuge. We do a prayer, refuge prayer is one of the preliminaries. When we do that, we visualize in the entire, like what we call merit field, okay, a virtuous field. And then Tara is there, 35 Buddhas are there, everybody's there, all the gang is there, everybody's there. So we do that. So water bowls. What are water bowls? So we have here water bowls, okay? So water bowls are the direct antidote for miserliness, stinginess. So it's a practice of generosity, right? Of what? Abundance? Yes. Yes. We use the word generosity, which is giving, right? Offering to others. And specifically, we are trying to purify our minds or from that, right? We are kind of like we are trying to make our minds less stingy than what we are normally used to. And they represent over there in the I don't know why I did it like this, but the small picture, if you see the small picture over there, they have actually they have like 8 things that they represent. So the first one is water for drinking. They come from a specific a way how the people, and especially important spiritual people, were received at the time of the Buddha. So if someone would be received in your house, whatever, that's how you would receive them. Okay? So that is why the outer water bowls, they have this meaning of that. Okay? So the water bowls for the outers, they have the meaning of water for drinking. So that was the first thing, because you walk over there was no kind of like car or anything. So the first thing you come, please drink something. Water for washing. So you wash yourself because you're coming from the road, which is dirty, washing the feet, because over there you enter inside of the house without without shoes. Then flour, as a way to kind of like make it beautiful and make it kind of like yes, a nice ambience for you to be received. Then incense, which is purify, like clearing the air, right? That's what incense does. It clears the air, right? Then light. Light represents actually that your mind can be, open and kind of like, clear in that way. Then we have perfume. And perfume is this idea of beauty, of kind of like having something that is nice, to the sense of smell, that is kind of like, it brings it purity in some ways. Then we have food. Okay. So we offer food. And the last one, it's music. So it's like all of that. So actually we have the senses as well over there, all the senses. We have sight, we have a touch, we have a smell, we have taste, and we have sound or hearing. Okay. So these are kind of like, in some ways, objects of the senses that are pleasant. We offer that, right? Because the Buddhas are not attached. It's not like us. So they are not attached to us. So we offer that to them. So they can just enjoy without attachment, right? When we are doing water bowls, we are actually trying to accumulate or to make our minds as vast as possible into offering not only these, but everything. Everything. So whatever you like, whatever you have, whatever you enjoy, whatever you kind of like are attached to, when you're doing the water bowls, you're offering it. Okay? So you're offering pizza, burrito, your car, you're offering, whatever you like, beautiful views, you're offering the oceans, you're offering everything. Why? Because the more, you don't need to offer that. You offer $1 million, but I don't have $1 million. Offer anyway. Precious jewels, whatever, offer whatever, because this is creating the conditions in your mind to actually do that, right? So you're doing it with that idea to accumulate that virtuous mind of developing that mind of offering, of generosity, because generosity is the causes for us to actually receive generosity from others, right? We say cause and effect. If I give, I receive. So the more I offer, the more I will receive. And you might not receive the same thing, but maybe you're going to receive, what Margaret was saying before. While all of these rich people, they did in some points that they practice generosity, the reason why they are experiencing now wealth in this life. But if they are doing stingy actions in this life, that means in the next life, they might not encounter the same conditions, right? Yes, Bob.
Everything you're mentioning is an object. What about attitude?
You can also offer, our body, speech, and mind. Everything, not like physically the body, but actions of the body, actions of the mind, nice words, nice aspects of, of your body, nice mindsets, kind of like, that feeling sometimes on Sunday morning, that you wake up and everything's calm and relaxed, and I don't know, like it's not that hot yet, maybe in October or November with the weather, so there's a little bit of an open door and there's some like light breeze, and there's that feeling of peace, of quietness outside and inside. Offer that. May everybody have that experience. Make sense? Or when you kind of like feel extremely happy. Yesterday my brother sent something, this bloody WhatsApp group of a family WhatsApp group, that they kind of like keep sending things. But there was one about like people being, there's it's a Brazilian Instagram video that only talks about good things that happened. It's like that thing that's like, oh, good things that happen. You think the world is going bad? Listen to this so you can see that the word. And I spent maybe half an hour just watching and crying. All of these, oh, this is so beautiful. Everybody, and I just offered that, right? That moment. You're just looking at something, but you just offer that. You say, have this as well. People that don't see their families for so many years and then they meet again, and that kind of like that. Oh, many people have that. Or people just kind of like, they discover that after they cannot be parents and they got pregnant. But people that want that, to have that feeling. So all of that, just offer. Practicing generosity is the most important thing, because the more we can do it, the more we will receive all the conditions to continue having the conditions for practicing Dharma, the conditions of doing that. Remember I said about that the way we should kind of like think is quite the opposite of how we are in the world. It's like, oh, we don't have money, so then we kind of like, we don't, we become like this. But like, sometimes like the center is very kind and give me money for food sometimes, and then the other day I was walking, then someone was like close to a supermarket, kind of like asking, oh, can you give me some money? And I said, do you want to eat something? They said yes. So I went inside and brought something, with the money of the center, and I said, then the center wins with that. But that's it. Practice generosity. I don't have much, but the center is very kind. But then you offer that, because that's how you can do. Even if you then you go into, oh, but the person is gonna make money and use drugs and use that. But don't care about that. Don't think about these things. Think about the mechanics. It's your mind that you're practicing. The other person might not use that so much, but first think about practicing your own mind of generosity. If for you it's hard to do that, there's even a practice that we say that is like, if you're very stingy, You practice first. You have something in your left hand side, you just give to the right hand side. Just that. Start from there. And then you just start giving, I don't know, $1 or giving another. And of course, doesn't need to only be money, as we were saying, but call someone that you know that you might not like because the person is going to complain and stay with you for an hour on the phone. Put it half an hour and say, okay, I'm going to offer my time to this person. Great offering. So when we are doing the water bowls, that's what we're trying to create. Okay. So then what we're going to do is that we're going to have the whatever kind of like container you have. Okay. So first thing is that as we're going to receive an offering in this thing, so we take a cloth, something that is very clean, and we clean them. Okay. Make sure that whatever we're going to put there is going to be clean. So we kind of like clean. Then we use incense if we can, because incense, it's a way to purify as well, deeper than just like a cloth, but like the incense, because it's made of kind of like all of these pure things, that's why it's important to try to buy as pure as possible incense and not those kind of like very full of stuff, Rinpoche was very strong in that. In Kopan, there's a specific incense called Laudo incense where Rinpoche was, that they take all of the kind of like bushes and things, from that area and make very strong pure incense. It's like bliss. If you smell it, it's like where I am, where am I? I'm just in this. So you use a bit of incense, to kind of like purify. And then you offer normally water, because that's what we have. And water is that idea as well to symbolize everything, right? You can put sometimes what we call saffron, okay? Because saffron is something that's very expensive and very like good. So you try to offer something to kind of like to make it a little bit more beautiful, more special. You don't have to, but if you can use that. And you put saffron in hot water, and then you put a little bit inside of the water so it doesn't become also too strong, just a little bit, just to kind of like, make it more beautiful, more like gold, so you're offering like that. And then you're gonna take, you never offer something empty. Okay. Why? Because you don't want to offer something like, it's like you offer something to say, oh, you want water? Okay, here you go. And you have the empty glass. That's not nice, right? So you don't also want to offer to the Buddhas, to everybody, an empty thing. So you all put a little bit, and then you put it there. If you have, here we don't have, but we have some of the water, the offering bowls that are made of
The stainless
steel one. They're very light and all of that. So what you can do is that you can take them and you can put them upside down. Okay, you put them upside down, and then you put a little bit of water in the first one, and you take the next one and you pass and leave a little bit of water in this one, and then you put it here, and then you take the next one and you go like this. So this is the way as well to practice that idea that I was talking about, like from one hand to the other, and then you give it everything. So that is the idea. And every time that you're going to pour the water, you try to pour very respectful. So in India, the way to be respectful is to do things with your two hands. So you take your two hands, and you have a jug or a jar, whatever it is that you have, and then you're going to put the water. So what we're going to try to say, and we're going to try to visualize all of the amazing things, the actions or the mindsets or the objects or whatever it is, okay? But we also going to say a mantra, that is Om Ah Hum. So Om, it's actually the body, speech, and mind. And right now, our body, speech, and mind is contaminated. Ah means the purity of our minds. So is kind of like, if we achieve or we relate to the purity of our minds, then Hum, we purify our body, speech, and mind. So Hum is the purified version of our body, speech, and mind. So we bring that, you know, we are doing that. So we are kind of like offering all of these things and thinking, oh, may my body, speech, and mind who are now impure through understanding reality and practicing generosity be purified. So we're going to do it like this. And we're going to offer. So we say that we should offer at least, if we can, 7 or 8 a day. You know, every morning, best thing to do is try to do that, to make, you know, some offerings. And but then the accumulation, we're going to talk about that. But the preliminary practices, normally we have this Kabbalistic number. But it is actually, we say that the way to complete the accumulation of these practices is that we should accumulate 100,000 of each. Why? It's a number that they say that it will create a very positive imprint in your mind if you do that for one lifetime, at least. You know, if you think about it, 100 times to do this is nothing, because we have been stingy almost every time and all the time. Or, you know, the prostrations, we are arrogant maybe half of our day. So, you know, doing 100 prostrations, not trying to be arrogant, you know, is already something, but it's nothing in comparison to the accumulation of, you know, that we kind of like have created. So it's a counteract for these mindsets. Okay. Yes, sweetheart.
You said 7 or 8 times offering.
7 or 8 bowls.
Oh,
Yes, representing these things. If you have like what we call anything, you know, in that I don't know over there the pictures like, but you can have kind of like something like a like a bell or whatever it is that makes sound. You can put in a place, you know, representing that sound. Otherwise, you just put 8 and you put water for everything, right?
Say that again. What were you saying about the sound?
The sound, if you, for example, I always have what we call a bell, right? Because it's something that we use for our tantric practices. So I always put it in my altar as representing the 8, which is the eight bowl, which represents music.
You can put
The
a
8
conch
bowl.
shell.
Or a
Conch shell.
conch shell. You know that, because normally they used to make sound, you know, like, so you can do that, or you can put there's little symbols or little kind of like bells, or even this little thing here, whatever it is that you feel that you can make, yeah, noise. Yes, dear. No, Will, that just
Let's just ask a question.
you want to ask a question? Yes.
Yeah, so I was taught a little bit differently with doing the Om Argama Hum, Om Pajama Hum, for and so on for each bowl.
I know,
The names.
Every time that you're offering, you can do it when you are doing, because then in some ways becomes a little bit of a tantric practice, right? Because Oma benza Oma Om pushpeha Om benza. You can, but that we only do it first when we are doing the outer. But when we are doing the accumulation of water bowls for the preliminary practices,
You're just
we are just on Mahun and
Okay.
offering everything and all of it, right? Because the idea is that we are offering 100,000 of these water bowls. So, you know, so can you imagine we're gonna kind of like be offering again and again and again and so many things, and we kind of like can,
Okay.
you know, we can do it, make it very vast. The idea of the accumulation of merit is for you to be able to kind of like really make your mind as vast as possible. So if you're only fixed into
Focusing on that
water
item.
and and then like flour and then this, yes, that creates a very strong connection with this, but it doesn't make your mind fast.
Okay.
Okay.
got it.
Will, you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to say, considering starting in October with these practices, and I was considering the 30 minutes per day. If you do that for more than 1 year, that's a number, that's accumulation, right? So instead of counting, because counting can be tough, so yeah, maybe how many hours, right? You did a half an hour per day for so many days.
It depends, yes, but then you need to check what type of the practice you're doing, and you need to calculate that. For example, you know, I take probably 15 minutes to do 120 prostrations. Okay, so I already
There you go.
calculated
Okay, yeah.
that. You know, so because I do that, but I calculated that in myself. So you need to check that for yourself, right? And then,
So
for
you write
example,
30 minutes and then you check later. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then you can do something like, oh, like the one mala of Vajrasattva. It takes maybe 20 minutes, whatever, 25 minutes. And then you say, okay, one mala takes 25 minutes, so you make an average. So to make sure that we made it 100,000, what we do in these cases is that then we add extra 10% for kind of like a possible mistakes or possible kind of like a miscounts that we might have had. Okay, Will?
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, but I understand. I think that it's something that is very important because some people, they do get a bit anxious about numbers and become about numbers. And I like it what Will is saying because we need to check what happens for us, what make useful for our minds. Because some people need the numbers so they can actually do it, right? If it is just like, oh, I just have to know, I'm just not, or whatever, I don't have time, or so you need to check what works for you, For me, with prostrations is also just like doing it, and I know how to like that. For some other aspects, it's also counting, Vajrasattva mantras or kind of like whatever, it is counting them. So you just need to check whatever it is, but it's not about the numbers, right? It's about habituation and about the intention. It's about the mind, about the motivation of transformation and habituating the mind, right? So that is very important. Okay. Will, you have another question or is the same one? Or you just okay?
No, I just wanted to say, thank you for that explanation.
Oh, thank you, dear. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're gonna have a break. I can't believe that I was actually able to cover 2 of the 9. Wow, we did it. But it's good because we can kind of like the other ones are a little bit easier now that we got it. We're just gonna kind of like do it. But it was very important that we did the beginning of it. Okay, the understanding of why we are doing this preliminary. So otherwise, nothing of this makes sense. So we're gonna have an hour break. No, 1.5.
You had it until 2, but if everyone's comfortable with an hour and we can get.
Yes, 1 hour is okay. I think 1 hour is better. Yeah. So we're gonna have an hour break. So you guys at home, you can go and have lunch, a snack or whatever you feel that like doing. Can go for a stretch or as walking or do some prostrations maybe if you want. And we will be back. Okay? We will be back soon. Thank you so much. Thank you. Here.